2021 Honda CBR1000RR Fireblade SP review. Let's be real for a second here. Honda's always taken the uber-conservative route with what we now know as the CBR1000RR, and this dates all the way back to the CBR's origins with the CBR900RR. When compared against its peers, the consensus usually goes the Honda is a really good bike, but it's not great. The reason is because Honda's tried to toe the line between racetrack performance and streetable usability, because these are road-legal motorcycles after all. And as much as any investor will tell you how important it is to diversify, in the sport bike world, this simply isn't the case anymore. Truth be told, CBRs are good sport bikes for the street, with usable mid-range and tolerable ergonomics. But on the racetrack where these bikes belong, the CBR1000RR hasn't made much of an impression. The last time a Honda production bike really got people's emotions stirring was when Colin Edwards won his World Superbike titles aboard the RC51. That was nearly 20 years ago, and if you'll notice, it wasn't even on a CBR. Yes, James Toseland bagged a world title on a CBR1000RR a couple of years later, but nobody lusts for that bike like they do an RC51. For well over a decade the CBR line hasn't tasted much in the way of international success. For a brand that made its name racing and winning at the highest levels, enough was enough. It was time for Honda to take the racing thing seriously again. It was time to add another R. Enter the triple R. What we have with the 2021 Honda CBR1000RR Fireblade SP is the raciest CBR to date, with minimal considerations for the street and maximum attention to racetrack performance, thanks to its spiritual inspiration, the RC213V MotoGP bike. While the CBR hasn't tasted much success lately, the RC213V sure has in the hands of one Marc Marquez. Yes, having a total of 4 RS in its name is a little silly, but this clean sheet design, we're told the only shared part between this and the old bike is the front wheel, though it uses different rotor carriers, is Honda's response to the other OEMs doing similar things with their sport bikes, building track-focused machines with lights, mirrors, and a license plate. If you look carefully at the name, the additional R jumps out, but read till the end and you'll also see the SP designation, usually meant for the highest performing version of the CBR. What you see here is the cream of the CBR crop, but this is the point where I reveal the catch. At least for Americans, we are not getting lower spec versions of the new CBR like our European friends are. At $28,500, the new Fireblade SP is now firmly in the upper tier of sport bikes from a cost perspective. For reasons I don't quite understand, the previous generation CBR1000RR remains as a base model at a much more affordable $16,499. Nonetheless, lofty price tags bring with it lofty expectations, and this is the point where we take a deep dive into the nuts and bolts that make up the new CBR1000RR SP. From top to bottom, Honda has redesigned the bike to make it as advanced and track-focused as possible. If you'd rather read about how the bike works, feel free to skip to the riding impressions. Otherwise, buckle in. It's about to get tetchy in here. All new engine. As mentioned before, the new blade is a ground-up redesign. It had to be if Honda were serious about making it more track-focused than ever before. As always, it all starts with the engine. In this case, the new engine is narrower, more efficient, and more powerful than its predecessor. Bore and stroke measure 81 mm x 48.5 mm, same as the RC213VS, making it much more over-square compared to the 76 mm x 55 mm of the previous engine. These new dimensions, while conforming to Motoc's current max bore size, also give the CBR1000RR Fireblade SP the largest bore size among the current crop of inline 4-cylinder 1000cc machines. Looking at you, Japanese litter bikes.